Twitter posted. Get our bots in here. And oh dear. Sorry. Getting used to some new interface changes, apparently. On some things. Let's get this pasted. And I think we are good. So, hello everyone, this is Chris Ingersohn, and it is February 21st, and this is the February 21st TextQuest Devstream. Again, much like Tuesday, we're not going to be working on TextQuest specifically tonight. Instead, we're going to be working on a new JSON parser that I've been messing around with. And in particular, we're going to be trying to get multi-threading working, which I'm just going to flat out admit, I have no idea what I'm doing there. So I've done a little bit of research, and we're just going to kind of dive in to see if I can get this to work. So before I start, I should probably go ahead and walk on screen and probably throw up the coding block, because we're going to be doing that today. A lot of it. Okay, so to get things started, I should go ahead and show you where I am currently. I have so many tests, and by so many I mean 30, which I think I had about 20 as of Tuesday. But we do actually have full parsing working right now, so it can parse both JSON blobs and JSON arrays, and it seems to be doing that pretty smoothly. You can ignore those warnings. That's from updating to 2018.3.6. So we have parsing and data management all working. At this point, pretty much the only thing that's left is profiling, just to see, what our pain points are, what areas we need to clean up a little bit, and the other big thing is obviously going to be threading. I've actually kind of come up with a threaded function already, but I'm admittedly a little hazy on how to properly handle returning values from a thread, just because you can't access a value that's in a thread, or rather you don't want to access values that are currently in a different thread, because that could basically create a race condition where you have two threads kind of vying for the same reference. So I believe what I can do is have a callback be passed in, and then start a new thread with basically that callback registered as the thing to return, or the thing to invoke when the thread is done. So we're going to try running this function. I have not run this yet, so I'm a little terrified that we're going to get like a crash or something, just because, again, I've never really worked with threads. So before we do anything, I suppose I should go ahead and grab my JSON test, and I will probably actually just add, I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to add thread to this. Just do it like it's 50. Okay, and then we're going to come down to here, and I'm just going to do, let's get rid of that. All right, so for this, I'm going to essentially say case thread. We'll hit break. Actually, we're going to call return after that, and then we're going to say, I'm going to come down to here. I'm going to say private void on JSON parsed string JSON. Oh, sorry, no, that's not right. JSON object JSON. And then I'm just going to call JSON parser dot parse threaded. We'll call nothing on that yet, because I need to say on JSON parsed. Okay. Then we're going to come up here, and I'm just going to add. Actually, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to get rid of you. I know you're going to throw an error, but we're going to go up to here, and I'm just going to go ahead and say public text asset JSON text, I guess JSON file. We'll go ahead and do that. Come back down here, and I'm just going to say JSON file dot text. Okay. Oops, wrong thing. I'm going to go ahead and let that go. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to, where is everything? Where am I? What's going on? What did I click that messed me up? Ah, there it is. Then we're going to go ahead and go to my drive folder. Okay, we're gonna go to my export sheet data stuff. I go to my, oh, not the tests. What's going on here? Okay, examples. I should have a large JSON file here that I can download real quick, assuming that it wants to. Oh, sweet. Come on. Unify data. I believe this is what I wanted. Yeah. I'm going to export some JSON instead of XML. Also, you'll get to see about, what, 34-ish Pokemon, which produces a decent chunk of data. Let's go ahead and make this JSON. We're going to go ahead and say ignore empty cells. We're going to minify data. Actually, you know what? No, we won't minify data. We'll make this as cumbersome as possible. Unfortunately, this is all going to be string parsing, which I guess is okay, but it doesn't really give us a good test case, but it's fine for now. We'll go ahead and say export sheet arrays, and let's go ahead and visualize this. Pokemon. Yeah, okay. Cool. So it's pretty flat, but there's a fair amount of it, so let's go ahead and export that. I don't think I really have anything else I want to format, so I'll go ahead and export that. Okay. Let's go ahead and download this. Show in folder, come back here. We're just going to dump this in, I don't know, there for now, I guess. We'll go ahead and come back here. We're going to just add that to here. All right. And I'm going to switch this over to thread. Actually, I'm going to switch this to, I guess, none, and then I'm going to turn it to thread when I start playing. Which I didn't actually say what that was going to do, did I? So that's not going to do anything. So let's go ahead and go back here, and I'm just going to say output label.text is equal to JSON.toFormatted string. Pretty print. Okay. Let's see if that will function as expected. I'm curious to know if it will. All right. So we're going to give this a shot. Which probably means it's going to go terribly, because it always does. Okay, so we're going to hit thread, and then I believe I hit 9. Ooh. Was that from me? No? Okay. Crap. I forget what my actual frickin' button is. Keypad 9, data test, which means that it never gets invoked. Or does it? Question mark. So I'm hitting 9, but nothing's happening, which is making me think that nothing is going to. Let's go ahead and I will test this, I guess. So let's say debug.log test thread. Okay. Let's go ahead and come back here. We're going to say return JSON. Okay. And let's see if we get that far, or if something else is causing problems. If that is the case, I do kind of wonder if that means that I can't invoke that as we would expect. Let's find out. Okay, so we totally can get this, whatever this is. Don't use this function in the constructor or field initializers. Will be executed from loading thread when loading the scene. Get active as enabled. Set vertices. Oh, it's a text mesh pro thing of all things. Okay. Perhaps I need to delay the return, which I guess means I want to do this. Actually, out of curiosity, let's go ahead and do this. Say new line plus JSON.toFormatted string. True, why not? Make it pretty big. So we are getting our thread started, and we are returning JSON, which means it's reaching the end of that. The question there then becomes, what do we do here? I think what's happening is that our threads are out of sync. So when we return the text, the main thread hasn't basically reached a point where it can use that data, so it just kind of freaks out. Yep. Okay, so this is multi-threaded, which is cool. It is parsing it, and it is returning valid JSON, but our problem is that this TextMesh Pro stuff can't update properly, which I think means I have to do something like this. I probably don't have threading on here, so I need to do something like this. This is going to get gross. What is it? Get main. Oh, there's a thread.current or something. There we go. Current thread. Dot. Is it set? No. What is this? Okay, hold on. Let me think about this. This might be more cumbersome than I would like. So I think what I have to do is, I probably want to do that in the parser itself. So there was something, I was looking at something a little bit earlier on this about basically how to wait. So I think I need to do this. Try this, I guess. So basically what this is going to do is, wow. Oof. Okay. Think. I guess I could do this. This is going to look a little awkward, but it should work. Private static void parse threaded internal. I hate doing the underscore internal moniker or suffix, I guess, but it does usually work to kind of just isolate things that aren't meant to be called from external scripts. Okay, so I believe what this is still does not work very well. It's basically going to be the exact same things here. So we're going to go ahead and call this. So I'm going to do this delegate, and then we're going to go ahead and, instead of doing that, we're going to say parse threaded internal. We'll pass in JSON string, and then call back. Okay. And then inside of that, we're basically going to say, we're basically going to do this, so this is going to be interesting. Event wait handle, huh? Event wait handle. Child wait is equal to new wait handle. Initial state is, I guess, true. And then manual reset. Kind of trying to get a grip on this, on how to best handle this. I don't like doing that in update, which I don't think we have to, if I recall correctly. This particular blog post talks about changing that up. I think. I might be thinking of someone else, though. I don't want to do that, but we might have to have that happen like that, which would be gross. Dang. I thought there was a way to hook into events for when update is called. Message received. Low memory. That's interesting. Before render quitting version wants to quit. Okay, that's not going to work. But it might also. So since our parser is a static class, I don't have access to update, which means that I have to do mono behavior dot. Okay, can't do it there either. There's a specific way to hook into it, but I forget what it is. Maybe I'm thinking of the editor applications update function, which would not be as useful. Okay, child weight. I really don't want to have a middleware thing that I spawn in. That would be gross. So we're gonna need. Let's see, child thread handle. So we're gonna say child thread weight dot reset. So we're gonna say child weight dot reset. Child weight dot set. Which I don't think I actually need to do. Weight 1, I guess. So I don't think that this is properly doing this. Signal and weight. Main thread weight, child thread weight. What is weight handle? Signal and weight. Okay. And that passes in our child weight, and then null for now. But that's going to be the main thread then, or not. It's going to be that. Okay. We don't really want to do that. So I suppose that means that I could. Ugh. Sorry, again, you're going to get a lot of this sort of thing with me. Where we say signal and weight, child thread weight, main thread weight. I don't think we need that. Main thread weight. Reset. So our problem is basically that we are our threads are not lined up. And I need some way of forcing them to do so. But I don't know how. Because I'm not sure what a standardized callback would be. Think. I suppose. Oh man, no, that would be messy. But would it work? Okay. I'm gonna try this weird, terrible thing. So we're gonna say system dot collections. Okay. So real quick, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come down here and say private enumerator, not enumerator, JSON parsed coroutine, JSON object, JSON. So I think what I'm going to want to do is this, which I don't like. We're basically going to say yield return null. This. And then we're going to say start coroutine, JSON parsed coroutine, JSON. I'm curious to know if this will handle that for us. And I think that means that all I really have to do is, like, at this point, all this is going to do is, you know what, screw it, we'll just leave that in there. And we'll just do this, because at that point, all of it is going to do basically the same thing. I'm still not convinced that that will actually work. I'm a little worried that our threads might be dangling. And that actually is a yawn. Excuse me. One of the things that I am worried about. I'm not sure how to tell if the threads are properly cleaned up or not. Okay, so that won't work. We do get the data back, but I can't do anything with it. Um, could I have this return the thread? That could be interesting. Um, except not really. Perhaps nope. I can't do that either. I was gonna say perhaps I could have it pass. Why am I yawning so much tonight? We could have it pass the JSON object back in addition to its thread, but by that point the thread would be done. Um, so that's not actually viable. Okay, might have an idea. Might have an idea. We're gonna make this void. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and call. So we are going to go ahead and call parse threaded. And then what I need to do is, can I get away with that? I don't know. We're going to call thread.current thread. So this is going to take a thread current thread. Okay. We're going to go ahead and say, wait. And this will be nothing. This will be nothing. Hold on. What are my options here? I don't want to abort. That would probably crash things. Compressed stack interrupt. Do I want to do that, or do I? I'm reasonably sure that if I try to call thread.join, it will fail. Set compressed stack. Suspend. Nope. Okay. 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 Interrupt. Get type. Execution. Abort. There is no wait. Nope. Okay. So that means I need to look at this real quick. Because we're not going to get a very easy way of doing this. I basically need to. I basically just need it to buffer for however long the frame is currently and then return it when the threads sync up. But I am not 100% sure or even 50% sure how to do that, admittedly. Hello, Garrett. Welcome back. How you doing tonight? So, this is quite vexing. Wait for main thread. Yeah, let's try this. Because this is the other thing. Like, there's the concept of thread pooling, which I have not even touched yet, and I'm sure that I'm going to need to do that. Let's see, Q thread, start thread, alive, start thread, active thread, stop threads, thread alive is equal to false, check active threads, render thread, count render thread. Doing okay? Not doing amazing? What's wrong with your life? I kid. So, thread loop unfinished. Is that even a... Okay, no. Harumph, harumph, harumph. So this is his own threading system, basically. Which... background worker, which is something I remember seeing. That was actually one of the things that turned up in my research. So instead of doing like a manual thread, I could do like a background worker, which is apparently not a thing. Okay. Let's see. Maybe it's from a different namespace. Mabe. Component model. I thought the background worker was something that I've come across before, but let's see. Sports cancellation is equal to true. Process event. Starting thread with ID. Worker thread.1. Worker async. Okay. So is that from component model? Apparently. Okay. Okay. But that doesn't really solve my main problem here. So we can start the thread and we can use it and we can return data from it, but the problem is that we can't sync up. We're still kind of stuck there. Crap. Well, perhaps... would that work? Maybe. It's... jeez. I don't want to have like a weird update loop in order to get this to work, but I might have to, which I would not be happy with. I guess that would kind of make sense though, so let me try a different approach. I am going to try a like utility approach where I have a separate mono behavior that basically does this, which I guess I'll call like JSON threader so that it can sound cool. And all this is going to do is basically do our standard, do what our parser was going to do when it's threading, but instead of basically being inside the static class, we're going to try to sync up the threads using update inside of the JSON threader. So we're going to say private void update. This probably means that I need to have a list of threads, I think, using system.threading, and maybe using system.collections.generic for a list of those threads. Well, actually, thread pool dot queue. I guess I could do it that way. Can I make this a... This is going to be interesting. Register wait for single object. Wait timer callback. State seconds. Queue. Set max threads. Completion port. Get max threads. Get available threads. I guess that would mean I would want to do this. Pool is equal to new. Can I do that, or is the thread pool just a static class? You're just a static class, okay. So there's nothing like that. So we're going to say thread pool dot bind handle. That's not it. Okay. Get, how do I guess it's just queue user work item. and await callback, which itself is what exactly? Okay, it's that, of course. I'll drag these over here. Okay, so this is not great. I don't really. I guess I would need. Would I need multiple threads if multiple cases or multiple invocations of parse were called at the same time? Should they all have their own thread? Yeah, otherwise they would block each other, I guess. So that's not great. Call or CAC, I guess, is equal to new await callback, which itself has a state. Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's see. Thread pool. Going to the Microsoft Docs. Let's see here. So we want to go to thread pool queue user thread proc is just it's just a function, okay. That takes an object state info. So state info is null. Many applications use text students waiting for event to okay. Okay, so wait. Will not keep notification. Okay, that's good. So I think what I want to do here is basically we're going to create a new function. So we will say, man, this is going to be nasty. It's going to be a singleton, which kind of sucks because that means we're going to have to do this. JSON threader instance public JSON threader instance get. We're going to say return instance. And then we're going to say if instance is equal to null, instance is equal to new. Well, we'll do this. Threader. Oops, sorry. Game object. Geo is equal to new game object. Don't destroy unload geo, and then we're going to go ahead and just say geo instance is equal to geo.add component JSON threader. Okay, we're just going to call this JSON threader. Okay, and we're going to come down to here, and we're going to go ahead and say I think. Oh, jeez. All kinds of mess. Let me think. Trying to see what my best choice here would be. So, I suppose what we would do is we would have something like this public void q parsing string JSON string and system dot action JSON object callback. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and say basically what we need to do is a very awkward function. Ugh. Again, I'm going to apologize for how uncertain I am about what I'm doing, just because I've never done this before. So it's going to be a lot of me kind of thinking things through out loud, trying to get this to work. And if at the end of the day we get it working at all, I will be super happy. Even if it's inefficient, even if it's somehow worse than if it was single threaded, I will be happy that I have a multi-threaded process running. Okay, so I think that means that basically all I need to do is just say, we're going to come back to here. And I believe we're going to do something like this. Hold on, let me come back up to here. Sorry, it's over here now. Event wait handle. We're going to say, how are you thinking about breaking up the work into tasks? How granular? I was thinking that I would just make every parse function call a thread. So probably each call to the parse threaded function would be its own particular thread. So in theory, you could have multiple parsing operations going on different threads at the same time. I don't really anticipate that being the case. In fact, most of the time, whenever I call parse, it's usually like the only parse that's happening. But I'm hoping that that will kind of work as a catch-all for it, since it should basically allocate that particular function to being called from within that thread. But then again, I'm also still like very new to threading, so I might just have a completely misguided view on how I want to handle or how I should handle this. So we're gonna go ahead and say main wait is equal to new true manual reset. Have you worked with threads before, Garrett? So it's like one thread per JSON file. Yeah, probably. Or rather one thread, yeah, per JSON operation. So that would be like if you're. Oh, you know what? I guess that also means that I could, in theory, do this on the back end too when I'm converting them all into strings. So it would essentially be, yeah, every time you call this parse threaded function, that would create a new thread for the parsing. And then we're going to go ahead and say event wait handle. Parse wait is equal to new wait true manual reset. I used to joke that we used the threading or the chaos threading model. Was that just letting them all run amok and not trying to match them up? Okay, so I believe what we're going to want to do here is call main.wait.reset, I think. And then the other thing is wait handle dot signal and wait. Main wait and then parse wait, I believe, which is what this is going to have to do down here. Okay. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, which I probably am, chaos. Oh yeah, as opposed to single-threaded apartment, multi-threaded apartment, or free-handed or free-threaded. Well, oh my god, I wish I knew why I keep yawning tonight. Hopefully, my attempts to learn threading live will not be too painful for you to watch. Okay, so we want to queue the user work item, which I believe is the function we want to queue. Seems kind of hard to break up one JSON file into chunks before you parse it, right? Yeah, I can't really do that. So I figured I wouldn't try to break it up. It would be nice if I had a way of doing kind of like asynchronous parsing, but I'm kind of just hoping that the thread will take care of that for me, since it will be taken care of off the main thread at least. So what that should mean long term is that JSON operations will no longer hang the main thread whenever you start parsing large JSON files. So that just means that I'll have to have a coroutine that waits for that thread to finish before it can basically move forward. You could maybe do it when serializing to JSON though. Yeah, and that's actually what I was kind of talking about. Is like I briefly kind of caught myself a little earlier, and I was like, oh, I could probably do it on the back end. So when I basically call like this the to formatted string, that could probably be done on its own thread. Um, just because like when it comes down to individual JSON objects or JSON arrays, they have all of their elements to iterate through, so that could help. Um, so we're gonna go ahead and go back here, and I think what I want to do here is we're gonna do this, and I need to make a. It's gonna be super awkward. Um, threaded versus async. Yeah. Well, yeah. I would like to be able to ideally do both, like have a multi-threaded process as well as an asynchronous process for large files if I need it, which of course the asynchronous process would ideally be multi-threaded as well. Um, but again, baby steps, one thing at a time. Let's just get the first multi-threaded process working. um, okay, so for queue processing, I think I'm going to try to basically adopt this approach. Which itself is probably not going to be the best, but it should work. Child thread wait dot reset. Wait one reset signaling wait child wait thread main thread. So I think what we want to do here is get rid of this, paste this in there, save. So this should get the main parsing thread to wait for the current thread, I believe. Because we're calling update here. And with that, oh geez, get min threads. No, that's not going to be good. So I'm going to need to come down to here. We're going to say private. Oh, and actually I borked that up already because this needs to be static. This needs to be static, and then we're going to say private int. Thread count is equal to 0, I guess. So when we queue parsing, we're going to go ahead and say thread count plus plus. And then when we queue this up, we're actually going to want to call thread pool dot queue user work item, which requires a wait callback, which itself is equal to a new wait callback, a target, which itself is just the function, I think. So I believe I need to do delegate object. I probably should give that a name. We'll call it object obj. Okay. Then we'll give this call. And what this is going to entail is essentially JSON parser.parse, and then our JSON string. And then we're going to go ahead and say, oh, geez, this is going to get nasty. So I'm going to do this. Okay. So we're going to say thread count minus minus. Let's go ahead and move this down to here. And once we do that, we're going to go ahead and say call back based off of this. Except that can't work like that. Okay. So let's do this. Public void finish parsing. And this is going to just call back a system.action JSON object callback and a JSON object JSON. Okay, and that means that this, instead of calling that, we're just going to go ahead and move that down to here. But also this is going to say finish parsing and then call back and JSON parser dot parse JSON string. I think that's what we want. And we're going to do thread count, whatever. Thread count minus minus. Then we will call callback on our JSON. And actually what I should do is I should say if callback does not equal null. Just to be sure in case something happened in the time. And the other thing we want to do is we want to, I guess, call this wait handle dot signal and wait main wait parse wait. Is that right? I feel like that's not quite right, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I'm really not sure about that. Okay. So I think this will work, which means that this now turns into this JSON threader dot instance dot q parsing JSON string callback. Let's try that. I'm willing to bet this is going to go horribly though. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and select this. Hit save, and let's give this a shot. That a thread and okay. Wow. Multiple threaders, huh? So what's going on here? Oh, oops. Well, that's a stupid thing of me to do, obviously. That would cause quite a bit of problems. Let's try that again. I'm also just going to go ahead and turn this on to thread by default. Okay, let's see. That's probably not a good sign. That makes me worried that I have locked my thread. And now I'm going to have to force quit Unity. Ooh. Oh dear. Yeah, that definitely has to have been what happened. That's not great. That's not great at all. Um, no, it is not. Cool. So yeah, that's impressive. I managed to get into an infinite loop outside of a while loop. I don't think I've ever done that outside of like terribly malformed for loops. So cool. That's a thing. Um, Maybe I should try to look for more Unity specific multi-threads. Jeez. And here's the other problem, right? Like I can't rely on the job system for this. because I've been seeing some things pointing to that, and I'm just like, well, I can't do that because I'm in 2017 still. So, this is rough. Thread work. Thread running is equal to true. Thread work. We're done. False. Thread running is equal to false. I can't do that really. Oh, I guess I can call thread.join. Okay. Okay. In that case, let's go ahead and jump back here. Maybe I can get rid of this. I really don't think that that's going to go well. Nope. I don't think that that's going to work very well for me. So thread.join is what needs to happen once it's over. So I guess what I could do is, let's go back here to the parser. When do I call that? This is the question. Okay. Do something like this. Okay, we just arbitrarily give it a thing. Okay, I don't know what that does. Let's see. Back with coffee? Well, that's good. You're probably going to need it. Considering that I'm pretty much in the same area that you probably left at. Trying to figure out how to... Still trying to figure out a good way to freaking get it to sync up. Blocks the calling thread until the thread represented by this instance terminates. Okay. So I think that means that I can just do that then? What? Why would I do that? Why on earth would I handle it like that? So no, hold on. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do this. Go to definition. Thread count. I'm not going to use this approach. I'm going to try an individual thread. Well, nope. I really don't want to do that. I suppose I could do this then? That will not work. God, that's frustrating. I still don't know how to sync this up. Thread pool dot bind handle equals get available threads, get maximum queue, user work item. That's not what I want. Register wait for single object. Wait or timer callback. That's the wait callback. This is quite frustrating. Okay. So I'm gonna avoid the thread pool for now. I feel like that's too convoluted for me. I clearly don't know what I'm doing here. And instead I'm gonna come down to here and I'm gonna say thread parse thread is equal to new thread, and then we're gonna call delegate finish parsing, and I guess it's going to be JSON string. Oh, no, sorry. Call back JSON parser dot parse JSON string. Okay. Parse thread. I don't want to do that actually because I feel like what I should be doing here is basically this. And since we're doing JSON whatever, we can get rid of you. That means we don't care about thread count. Let's get rid of this. And then I'm also just going to go ahead and pass in a JSON string here. So this will be our JSON string. Sorry, string. Okay. And then we're just going to go ahead and say JSON object JSON is equal to JSON parser dot parse JSON string. Okay, and then we're gonna call thread dot. I'm sorry, not thread dot join. Oh, you son of a! How am I supposed to know when to call join? Because I'm inside the thread. Let's see. Thread proc thread 2 dot join. What is that? We're just caching these references to the thread because of course we are. I'm going to try passing in the thread itself, which I can't do. That makes no sense. How on earth am I supposed to do this? Cool. Cool. Yeah, sure. Why not? Nope. That still does not make any sense. Let me think. I think I know of a way to do this. It is going to be ugly, but it will work. I'm hoping. Okay, so we are going to have a list. So I'm going to go ahead and say private list. Oh boy, this is just going to be a nightmare. Threads is equal to new. Yeah, I was going to say no thread pool. Yeah, no, definitely no thread pool. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to manually keep track of my threads. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to say list JSON object. This is going to get pretty hideous pretty fast. Should be responsible for creating, destroying the thread. Don't let it kill itself. If that's what you're doing. Yeah, I was thinking of trying that, and then I was like, no, that doesn't really make sense. Why would I have it? Why would I have it join itself? So I need to instead do this insanely awkward thing where I'm going to populate values based off of threads. Oh dear. I'm pretty sure that's all I need. Okay, so what we're going to do here is... Oh, man. No, that's fine. Okay. So I'm going to get this basically going. So we're going to say instead of finish parsing with a JSON string and a callback, we're also going to need to pass in an index, which is going to be threads.count. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and say int index. That will not work because I can't guarantee that they will always complete in order. Shoot. Okay. But I'm reasonably sure that parse thread has an ID of some kind, I believe. Managed thread ID. Yes, that's what I need. Okay. So that's still not great. The original calling thread should be responsible for creating a string thread. Yeah. My internet keeps cutting out, so I'm not keeping up 100%. So I'm working. Should multi-thread my brain. Yeah. Oh, jeez. This is such a nightmare. I'm not sure how to tell it that it's done. or how to even identify it as done. Because these threads could, in theory, all complete at different times, and you might have threads that started later complete before threads that were started earlier, which means that I can't rely on an index or queue. Nope, I can't rely on a queue because I might add more while one's still going. Okay, God, this just gets way more and more complicated. So manage thread ID, but I don't understand how I give it that information, so that's not really useful. I mean, I can get this to start like that. Does it have overrides? It does have one override, I guess, which is useless. Um, I don't even really know how to. I guess it would be this thread dot current thread, I think. Dot manage thread ID. I okay. I guess I could do that then. Um, God, that's terrible though. Okay. Um, wow, this is awkward. Um, so I guess what I could do is I could have a list of the thread IDs as an int value. So I could do a dictionary with the thread IDs mapped to their values? Question mark. And then I could remove them when they're done, I think. So instead of having a list of threads, we would have it and values. We would have a dictionary. So private dictionary of ints and JSON objects. And these are going to be values are equal to that. It's going to be terrible. No, we're going to do it like this. Just because this will give me a little bit more control, I feel. So this will be a list of ints for our thread IDs, and then a list of our values. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and say thread IDs dot add parse thread dot manage thread ID, which I'm assuming is unique, but I should probably double check that. Let's see, properties, manage thread ID. It is unique, so that's good. Okay, that's good. It doesn't change. Cool. So I can do this, and then what I can do is once I have that, I will also need callbacks. So I'm going to need this private list system.action JSON object callbacks is equal to new list. Okay. And once we do that, then I'm going to say callbacks dot add callback. Okay. And instead of checking that here, what we're going to do is we're going to say int index is equal to thread IDs dot index of this. And then we're going to say values dot add null. And all we're going to do here is simply say values of index is equal to null. Question mark. Oh, geez. Yes, that should work. Okay. And then we're going to do this in update. Okay, we're going to get rid of this. We're just going to say if thread IDs.count is greater than 0, because there's no reason for us to do this otherwise. We're going to go ahead and say for int I equals thread IDs.count minus 1, I is greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus. We are going backwards for a very specific reason, and that's because I want to clean them out, basically, if they are completed. And that's going to, if I did that from front to back, it would screw up indexes. Although I guess it really wouldn't matter now that I think about it. But okay. And once we do this, we're going to say is not equal to null, but is equal to JSON. And all we're going to do here is we're just going to say if values of I does not equal null, then we're going to call, we're going to do callbacks of I dot invoke, and then we'll pass in values of I. Okay. And then we're going to remove those things. So we'll say thread IDs dot remove at I, callbacks dot remove at I, and then values dot remove at I. Okay. I'm hoping that this will work. And if it does, I will be so amazed. Because that is, like, that seems like it's sloppy code. And also that it shouldn't work. But let's just give it a try. My God, I haven't felt like this since I started programming. Oh, God. I forgot how much I hate not knowing what I'm programming. Or how to program what I want to do. Ugh. The new frontier. Okay. So let's clear this. And let's give this a shot. Question mark. See if you freeze. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We got it working. Oh, yeah. Now the question is, did it actually clear it up, or did I get some bad happenings? Like it's not constantly setting it, I hope. Oof, excuse me. So, cool. I think I do have that working, but it still sucks that to do this, I had to basically resort to using an update loop that then just checks on all of those threads to see if they're done. I'm not happy about that. I'm really not. Okay. But it does work, and it does at least let me have threaded JSON. So that's cool. I have no idea. I would assume that multi-threading would work in tests like this, except if I have to sync it to the main thread, it doesn't work. So that means that multi-threaded tests are kind of worthless as far as unit tests go. Okay, so that's cool that it basically reduced our call down to one line, but it does kind of suck that that's the case for this. But yes, I very much do feel like a noob looking at this now. I'm curious to know what the difference performance-wise is between these things, which probably means that I'm going to have to do a couple of things. We can profile the total time from the main thread. You mean for just profiling to see how long it took? Yeah, that's true. Let's I'm gonna go ahead and open up my profiling window. If I could remember where that is, I'm assuming that's analysis. Yeah. It's funny that analysis doesn't contain the test runner, but that's just in general. You'd think that that would actually be in analysis. But, whatever. Okay. I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to turn off our main threading test. And then I'm going to actually going to go back up to here. Let's go to our JSON test. Go up to here. We're going to say text is equal to 45. And then if we do this, we're going to say case text will break out, and we're just going to say JSON is equal to JSON parser. Oops, sorry. JSON parser. Okay, am I even doing anything with this? Oh, I guess I am. Yeah, okay. JSON parser dot parse JSON file dot text. Okay. So that will give me two tests, one not threaded and one threaded. That should let me profile this. Unit test should still work. So the unit test will work, but the problem is because the unit test is purely in the realm of data, it doesn't actually get me anything useful. Like I know for a fact that the unit tests. Well, I guess I don't know. I assume that the unit test will work because all the threaded function is doing is basically just starting a new thread and then parsing this. I could write a test for that, but I guess the test in that case would be basically validating that the thread was created, I suppose. But it doesn't actually help me in the sense that I need to get my. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. I just thought of that. Shoot. So, for my threaded parser, should I. No, I guess I do want that back on the threader. Never mind. I'm not sure if I actually want the parse threaded function to always go through the JSON threader. Because the only reason that the JSON threader exists is so that I can basically work with data in relation to things that need to go back to the main thread. But if I don't have to go back to the main thread, it doesn't really make sense for me to have to wait for that frame to sync up. But at the same time, it's not too much of a problem, I don't think. So I'll leave it like that for now. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and profile. I'm going to try doing a standard test to start. So we're just going to set this to be text, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hit 9, and then we're going to hit that to be thread, and then we hit 9 again. Wow, is that correct? Because if it is, my God, that's amazing. No, that's got to be a false test. So this is the manual one when it's not threaded, and then like this little spike down here was when it was threaded, and I can't believe that it's that noticeable of a change. Like there's a huge garbage spike here. How did that happen? That has to be from TextMesh Pro or something, not from the actual parsing. So let's see here. Okay, so okay, you're showing me what the previous frame was. That's good. All right. So looking at all this, let's see. JSON test update was about. Wait, JSON test update. Oh, that was the key press, right? We don't really care about that. Mostly what I care about is the. Come back here. Jobs, rendering, editor loop, player loop, JSON test update, string to console, process, job. We have our worker threads. Not really doing anything much there. Well, are we? If anything, it looks like it's doing less work on the worker threads, which can't be right. I wish it was easier to do a side-by-side comparison. So we have a JSON test update. Try to zoom in down here. Calling C nodes. Parsing nodes, add local lights. Okay, so that's all of the thread rendering. Man, it would be super nice if I could see my actual values here, because I have not used the profiler for 2018.3, so I'm trying to wrap my head around the frame breakdown here. Thread pool worker, which nothing seems to be happening. Scripting threads, which either are so tiny that I can't notice them, or what? Background job? Nope, none of that. Profiler. Nope. Other threads? Question mark. Enlighten. I guess I could name it just out of curiosity. So let's go ahead and stop playing. I'm going to rename the thread. So when we get back to here, let's go ahead and stop playing. Doing profiler stuff right now, but we have 2017. I mean, I feel you, right? Because that's where TextQuest is right now. That's why I can't use the like the C# job stuff. I have to figure out how to do this with good old-fashioned threading. So I'm going to go to JSON Threader, and when I name this, I am going to go ahead and just do this. Parse thread.name is equal to this plus parse thread dot manage thread ID. And we're just going to call this like JSON parse thread number whatever. Let's see if that shows up and I can easily identify that. I guess I should debug that too. Let's go ahead and just say debug.log parse thread.name. Okay. Also, probably what I'm going to do here is do that. Make sure that doesn't call out before I'm finished. Okay. Because I'm not really sure what to do to check this. I don't know how to. No ECS, but what you're doing is about the simplest multi-threading you can do. Don't need ECS. Yeah, that's what I figured. Plus, I mean, this seems like something that would be good for me to know how to do anyway. Just in case I ever have to, just do this. So I'm going to go ahead and play. We're going to hit pause. Actually, you know what? To clear out any false things, I'm going to go ahead and just parse a bool real quick. So we're going to hit 9. That clears that at least. Okay, we're going to clear this out. I'm going to clear my profiler. We're going to come back to here. I'm going to turn this to text. We're just going to go ahead and hit 9. Let's go ahead and change this to thread. 9. Again, looks like we got that tiny spike compared to the previous one, which is super weird, and that makes me think that garbage is going somewhere else. Or actually, what's probably happening, I bet. Let me try this out real quick. I'm going to set this to bool. I'm going to just go ahead and hit 9 here. I'm going to set this to thread, and I'm going to hit 9. Yeah, okay. But interestingly enough, you can actually see the separation happen, I think. So this, well, no, that's different frames. Never mind. So that doesn't make sense. I was going to say, like, you can see that our script cost goes up a whole 2 frames before the UGUI rendering cost happens. And that's counter to what was happening before, where they were basically synced up. So you can see that our threading executes kind of a little bit, a couple of frames ahead of the UGUI update stuff, which is kind of cool. Okay, so there we go. Looks like we're allocating about 230. I'm assuming that's bytes. I'm really hoping that's bytes because if that's not bytes, that's terrible. I can't generate 230 kilobytes of garbage. Are you going to tell me how much you did? So you can see that we do have, like, this has to be bytes. It has to be, right? Because otherwise it's monstrous. Have you threaded the file read input output too, or is it just in memory? I'm not threading the file read stuff because that's typically done via Unity's text asset stuff. Um, so it should just all be in memory. We shouldn't be. I mean, there is a certain amount of, I guess, reading going on when we do that because we are calling. Let's go to our test here. You can see that we're calling JSON file.text, but I'm not really sure if that means that Unity already has that data on hand, or if this gets parsed every time it gets called. Because honestly, either way, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not put it past Unity to have this be a stupid, terrible performance thing. Um, um, but so okay, so we are seeing the other thread happen, which is good. It does look like, oh geez, these are pretty bad. Um, I'm assuming that this is all adding up. I'm assuming these are just bytes, like individual bytes, but these are all adding up a lot. Uh, no, I'm not. I'm not worried about reading in I/O access, mostly because I feel like that's not the JSON parser's problem. The JSON parser just takes a string, so you could dynamically load, like read a file, I guess, and then you could convert that into a string and then send that to the parser. All I care about right now is the parser itself. Anything else is a separate issue as far as I'm concerned. Um, it would be really cool, Unity, if I could tell how much garbage per thread I have going. I guess I just have to kind of like see what's going on here. So 1,500. Okay, so 1,514 instances. I'm assuming means that that's all of the garbage at once, or is that just saying like total? Hmm, that's hard to say. Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and clear this. Oops, sorry, not clear on play. I'm gonna clear this again. We'll find it. I'm gonna turn this to text. Pause 9. Okay. Turn this back to thread. 9. Wow, really? Okay, so come back to here. Collapse all of these, I think. Let's collapse pretty much all of the ones that we don't care about. So we have a much larger spike when we do our multi-threading. Admittedly, garbage looks like it's actually doing a little bit better. Let's just turn off things that we don't care about. We don't care about texture memory. We don't care about material or object count. And for this, we don't care about vsync or global illumination or UI, animation, physics, or rendering. So this is kind of the graph that we actually care about. This is most distressing. So it looks like when it's single threaded, we're at 2.5 milliseconds, and when it's multi threaded, we're at 4 milliseconds. Um, which is difficult for me to wrap my head around. It does look like our garbage is coinciding with this, which I don't really know what's going on here. Let's come back here. Select memory. Okay, we're not getting much help there. Jobs. No. There's a way to do this. Hold on. Here we are. Hierarchy. So we're looking at raw hierarchy. What's the difference? Editor loop, player loop. Editor loop. We got two things. Okay, let's just go to. Okay, let's go to hierarchy. All right. So we're gonna go to player loop. Let's look for our main culprits here. We're gonna go for garbage collections. Behavior update, JSON test. Log string to console, which, oh shoot, that might be giving me false positives. Hold on. I guess that's a good point. So that's interesting. Okay. Ah. Okay, that's not great. Okay, so that means I need to change that a little bit. First things first, let's go ahead and get rid of these. I think that's all we cared about, right? Test thread. Yep. We'll go ahead and keep the strings from when we start so I can know what name to look. Well, actually, I don't think we need that. Let's go back here. Pretty sure we can get rid of this because I know reasonably what thread it is. Okay, so in addition to doing that, can I also go ahead and cheat and just do like name is equal to, oh dear. Yep. I don't think, can I even do that? Stop it. Yeah, I don't think it'll, yeah. Okay, I didn't think so. Darn, I was really hoping that I could get around that. I suppose I could just cheat and say JSON parse thread and then not worry about that. That's probably fine. Okay, so with that, I think what's going to have to happen here is I'm going to have to say private list int, I'm sorry, not int, bool thread completions is equal to new list bool. Okay, and then all we're going to do here is just say if values of I is equal to not, we're just going to say thread completions of I. So if they're complete, then we're going to go ahead and say thread completions add false, and then we're just going to say thread completions of index is equal to true. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Brah, man. Honestly, I think the hardest part about working on something that you are not comfortable doing is that well, in particular this particular issue, I don't have anyone I know personally that I can like in my normal day-to-day life just like badger and be like, so how do you think this looks? Um, and let's see here. All right, so I'm going to try to get this to parse again. Well, I'm not going to try. I know it will work, but so we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and say text. Let's hit 9. We're going to pause. I'm going to clear this out. We're going to hit 9 again. I'm going to pause. Switch this over to thread. I'm going to hit 9 again. It is still larger even if our general garbage is somehow lower. So you can see that we're getting massive frame dumps. Let's go for time milliseconds. So we're at like, oh, you're not telling me everything, are you? Yeah, we go up by like 2 milliseconds when we try to multi-thread. So let's go to, I'm assuming it's this. Behavior update, JSON test. Okay, that's fair. Give me a second. Okay, that's more manageable. So this particular spike was probably because the game object has to be instantiated for the threader. So that means that we're closer to about, so that's like 2.3 milliseconds, and this is closer to, really, you have an object reference not set to an instance of an object. What is that? I borked it, didn't I? Yep. Yep. So we're gonna go ahead and come back here, and I need to say thread completions dot remove at I. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. That's probably not great. It's okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and have this just do thread by default. Okay. So let's go ahead and set this to be text. I'm going to go ahead and parse this. I'm just going to say 9. I'm going to put this back to threading. I'm going to say 9. Oh, there we go. That makes more sense. But that's also one case after it's been shown to not be the case. So this was our standard one. You can see that we do have, it is 200 kilobytes of garbage. That is unacceptable. That is really unacceptable. Let's go ahead and do timeline. Because I think what ends up happening here is our garbage spike looks smaller, but that's only because it's on the garbage is being generated on a different thread. So I'm guessing it doesn't show up here. So there we're getting 98 kilobytes as opposed to, wait, what? What? Okay, 245-ish kilobytes as opposed to about 90, to about 100-ish. So that's interesting, though. It's also interesting because our instances call here is less than it was before, but it's the exact same text. Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, it is on its own thread, at least. but we're not really. Man, I guess the easiest way for me to do this is to just parse a giant blob of JSON. Um, like that's honestly the easiest way I can think of doing it. So let me. Oof. JSON test file. I would kind of like a random giant JSON blob. It would be nice if I could just have a super large one, like way more than this, preferably. Nope, these are just examples. Large JSON test file. Really big JSON file. I like that. Okay. Wow, it's almost 200 megabytes. Oh, that's sad. So you don't just have the JSON file? Well, that is disappointing. Well, I don't want to do that. So that sucks. Oh, wait, no, this is what this is. I'm just going to download this file. So this is going to be a monster of a file. Okay, not really helping me here. I guess I'll save as. And I'm just going to save this directly into my freaking file, or into my project. So let's go to JSON parser, assets, scenes. We'll just go ahead and put it here. So that's probably going to take a second. While that's happening, you know what? I'm going to take a drink. Really? Was that fast? That doesn't seem right. No. No. It must have given me the wrong file. I don't believe that it downloaded. Well, I guess it could have downloaded that fast. Wrong thing. JSON parser, assets, scenes. Okay. All right. Let's try this again. And to really kind of drive this point home, I'm going to go ahead and do a new scene. We're going to go ahead and collapse this, collapse these. Let's go ahead and do JSON thread test. Okay. So we're going to do a couple of things here. We're going to go ahead and say, first up, we're going to want a public text asset, JSON text. Okay. Next, we're going to say private void update. Let's go ahead and do public key code. Thread key is equal to, I don't know, keycode.t, I guess. Public key code, if I can spell public right, that is. Key code, non-thread key is equal to keycode.n, might as well. Okay, we're just going to say if input.get key down, thread key, if input.get key down, non-thread key. Okay. We are going to do a couple of things. We're going to need to come up here, say using TM Pro, and then we're going to go up here and say public text mesh. No, I'm not doing that. So this is a bit of an odd situation because I'm going to parse the JSON without actually looking at it. Um, Essentially what I need to do is I just want to parse it and see how much that hangs up the main thread. Uh, so all I'm going to do is just do private void log JSON object JSON. So we're just going to go ahead and call log JSON JSON parser dot parse JSON text. Oops, sorry. JSON text dot text. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and call JSON parser dot parse threaded JSON text dot text followed by log JSON. And that's just going to say debug dot log JSON dot to string. Okay. Let's go ahead and let that compile. And in addition to that, I'm going to go ahead and create another C# script that's just going to be like a basic rotation. Go ahead and open that up. Let's go ahead and say public vector 3 speed is equal to, I don't know, vector 3.1 private void update, and then all I'm going to do here is just say I guess I should do this too. Private void start, just to cache things, transform, cached transform. We're just going to say cache transform is equal to transform. And then down here, we're just going to say cache transform dot rotate based on speed times time dot delta time. Pretty sure that's all I'm going to need to do. Let's go ahead and let that go. I'm going to right click, create. If it'll let me create 3D object, I'm going to make it a cube. Let's go ahead and just attach this basic rotation script to it. Get rid of our box collider. That's all we care about. Let's make that like 5. Okay. So just out of curiosity, let's go ahead and make this thread test scene. Okay. If I hit play, we should see our cube rotate, which I guess I should probably make rotate faster. Let's go to 30 and 50 and 10. Okay. 30, 50, 10. Okay. Let's get our test in there, JSON thread test. Our city lots is going to be our main test there. This is probably going to end horribly, but it will give me useful data. So I'm going to go ahead and clear. Let's hit play. Okay, so you can see that we have our cube rotating, and I'm going to go ahead and hit N. How long was that, out of curiosity? Oh, man. I've never seen that before, but that's amazing. So that was 4 seconds-ish. And then I'm going to try this. That was better. At least I think so, anyway. Oof. It is not wanting to let me select that, though. Help. Cool, Unity's frozen. Give it a second. There we go. Oh my god. Come on. You're killing me, Smalls. Killing me. I'm trying to drag the profiler over so you all can see it. Alright, So these are our two spikes. The first one is not threaded, and the second one is threaded. So if I try to select the first one, you'll see that it's 4,000 milliseconds almost. That is where the bulk of the frame goes. And then past that, if we go to this one, which also takes quite a bit of time, that was only 1 second, which is much better, actually. Holy crap. Our JSON parse thread is looking at, I don't know, a lot, I'm assuming. Wow, it's really not nearly as much as I was thinking it was going to be. Only 51 instances. So it's not perfect. However, I'm willing to bet that that's infinitely better than my previous parser, just because, one, I'm going to try to open up this file to see how scary it is. Or actually, I guess I could just look at it here. So this is the amount of JSON that we were attempting to parse. And actually, fun fact, I'm willing to bet that it was too long for it to really show up very well. Why do I only have one of them? That's not good. I'm a little concerned now. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go down to here. We're going to go ahead and say private void log threaded JSON object, JSON. And we're going to say parse threaded log JSON threaded. We're just going to do this again. The only difference is that this is going to be, we're going to add a little bit here. So we're going to say non-threaded versus threaded with a new line and a new line. We only had one log come out, which makes me think that it just didn't finish. Which is worrisome to me. So let's go ahead and let that clear. Also, the log that came out was very tiny, which makes me think that it didn't parse it right. Let's go ahead and clear this out again. Okay. So I'm going to just try this. So not threaded to start. It's about 4 seconds. And then threaded, which is about 1. Shit. Okay. Cool. That's cool, actually. That's way cooler. So I just prematurely. So it's not that it took less time, it's that it was merely running in the background. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say non-threaded followed by threaded 1. Okay. So it does happen over time, which is actually really awesome. However, it is way harder for me to find the thread in this. Okay. I'm going to try to show you guys what I'm looking at here. I'm reasonably confident that this is... So is our thread just not generating garbage that entire time? Is it that good? so I'm impressed. So we're looking at something like this. We get a spike there of, wow, 300 megabytes. Where did you come from? Wow, that is not okay. That's our 4-second threaded, or multi-threaded. And this is our 1-second threaded. We're looking at about, wow. So on the non-threaded call, we get about 0.7 gigabytes of garbage generated. And on the threaded call, we're doing much better at about 300, 300 megabytes. But then at the very trail end, we get another 360, which averages out to be almost the same. Yeah, we're looking at almost the same total amount of garbage, which I guess makes sense because it's the same function. But it is spaced out a little bit more, which is good. But we still have that initial hiccup, which is interesting. I wonder what is causing that. Okay, well, we have it working, questionably. I'm still not convinced that it's parsing it correctly, though. It's so tiny. How on earth can it be so small? It should be much longer than that. That is what has me worried. It makes me think that I have it formatted incorrectly. I'm going to kind of... Oh man, I don't have File Manager in here, so I'd have to manually do it from scratch. I really don't want to do that. Okay. Okay. Basically, what I was going to do is I was going to like write these JSON values. So I guess I could do something like system.io.write. Oh, jeez. Create text. Okay. All I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say really? All you do is give me a stream writer? Hold on. Write all text. There we go. That's pretty much all I want. So I'm going to verify, one, that it's actually parsing. And to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and say application.dataPath plus this. And we're just going to go ahead and say uThreaded.txt, comma, JSON.toString. I'm going to say formatted string with pretty print to make it a little bit easier to look at. Let's go ahead and copy that. Come back down here, and there's going to be non-threaded.txt. It's all good. Okay, so we're going to try running that again. This should let me see the actual JSON in a text file so I can look at it to make sure it's parsing correctly. Given how small those are, I'm really concerned that it's parsing only part of it. And if that's the case, then my data parsing is incorrect. So I have to revisit that. Oh, fingers crossed that's not the case. I really don't want to... I really thought I had it nailed. It seemed to be doing all right. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. There's our new non-threaded one. And then here's our threaded one. There we go. So you can see that we do have about 2 1-second intervals where the threading kind of works up. But all right, I'm going to go ahead and say show in Explorer here. It is failing. Nope. Okay. So that is not good. That means that my parser is not working. So like if I had to guess, so we're getting up to feature collection, features, type, feature, properties. This is going to be a nightmare to try and actually figure out where it failed. Great. So I guess that's what I'm going to be doing all night. Nope. Well, so technically, yes, I did win a little bit, but then I also failed because, so we do have threading working. So for example, I can show you real quick. Basically all I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and close this. If I hit N, if I hit N, it's going to do the non-threaded parsing, which you can see the cube freezes there. It's about 4 seconds of parsing before it resumes. If I do the threaded parsing, we get about 1 second, and then we get about another second a little bit later where it actually doesn't hiccup. So, okay, we just get that one initial second of delay, and then it does use multi-threading for it. The only downside is, well, not really downside to the threading process, but it seems like my my parsing is not correct because it's giving me much smaller. This is not what the file that I put in is. I probably shouldn't have clicked on the file that I put in because it was that. So you can see that things are not even close to correct. Yep. It looks like it fails out during coordinates, so I'm going to have to figure out what's failing out there. It's not great. Not great at all. And that makes me very sad. Especially because these are numbers. Why are these numbers not... Were they written up as... Okay, guess that's fair. So, I mean, it looks like we're getting basically to the end of our first feature here, and then it's failing out, kind of. So I'm probably going to have to figure that out. So that's going to be my night, trying to figure out why it's failing out here. That makes me so sad. But at least I have threading working. Ugh. It's just so much worse that it doesn't actually parse it correctly. So that's going to be a thing that I have to figure out. Given the amount of time that it's taking, I'm kind of assuming that it is parsing through that data, but for some reason it just doesn't get returned properly. I'm not really sure why that would be the case. So I don't know. But hey, at the very least, we have multi-threading working, multi-threaded support started. I'm not going to say it's working until I'm 100% satisfied with it. But it's functioning, and we can build on it from there, at least, to get a little bit more of a performant parser. So for now, I'm going to call it a draw. I'm probably going to go ahead and end the stream there, just because I think the next couple of things that I have to do to test this are not going to be very fun. So I would probably end up swearing and punching my computer a lot. And I don't want you to hear that side of me. So I think we're going to call it a night there. I hopefully will be able to get this working, and once I do, that means that on Saturday this weekend for the Devstream, I'm going to try to implement this parser into TextQuest so that I can have a much more optimized parser. So that means that I'm going to try to finish up the last bit of polish on this and get the last bit of features, I guess, that I want in there implemented. So, all right. Are there any other announcements that I can think of off the top of my head? Not that I can think of off the top of my head. So, yeah. So we should be good for Saturday. Doing our regular dev stream at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Should be fine with that. So, yeah. I think we'll end it there. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching. And I will see you all next time.